Today we have a technique called cold frying. It's gonna change and revolutionize the way you think about frying. What is cold frying? Now, these babies are being fried for over an hour. We start cold, now it's probably 110 degrees. It's time for it to get hotter, so the outside starts to be crispy. Cold frying, it's this frying which makes this creamy inside and this crunchy outside. Look at this. Gorgeous. What is a normal frying? Normally, depending on the oil you fry, you have about 170 degrees to 180 degrees Celsius of oil, and you put your chips in, you put your whatever you like, even meat in, and it's gonna first, with that hot oil, sear from outside and then start to be really crunchy. Normally what happens is, for example, if this is, let's say, a weird potato, this potato gets seared around. Because of the hot oil, it gives out some bubbles out. What are those bubbles? Water and air. And the whole thing gets fried in 8 to 15 minutes, depending on the size. And when it gets out like this, it's crunchy and stiff, it looks great. But what if it sits for 5 minutes? Yes, you're right. To prevent that, there is this double cooking. Famous McDonald's chipsters that way. Heston Blumenthal first boils the chips and then fries it in a colder degree and then put it in the fridge and fry it again. These are all like different ways of frying these beautiful chips to make it perfect. I now want to talk about an ancient technique from my family, which is called sikme badades from Cyprus region. Cyprus, maybe you know, is great in potatoes. The soil is good, the potatoes being really great. And so we have this family tradition of men putting a bit of oil in a pot like this, putting to this level, and putting a lot of potatoes in this big barrel and closing the lid like this, and then shaking it. It's called sikme. So the oil goes around, the potatoes goes around. This way they cook the potatoes. How? We put the potatoes to 110 to 120 degrees for about 40 to 50 minutes, depending also on the potato and the size. Afterwards, in the last 15 minutes, we increase the heat to around 170 degrees to 180, and then the outside becomes crunchy. As you can see, the middle is quite watery like this. Because of this water, the inside, there are a lot of water. If I fry the outside first in the hot, it will become crunchy, but slowly when we take it out, water starts to get closer to the crunchy outside of the potato. Because of this moisture, that crunch starts to die and it becomes like a soggy, oily thing.
Because you could not evaporate the water inside the potato with high temperature.
Yeah, you cannot.
It stays in.
It stays in.
And when it's done cooking, frying.
When you look at outside, it becomes really brown and nice, looks nice. And you take it out, for a few minutes it looks nice, but then as you continue eating it, it becomes soggy. If it's a chips, it will go like this. If it's a bigger one, it will be soggy and oily and disgusting looking. Yes. To prevent that, we are actually boiling the potatoes in oil.
And evaporating the water.
Yes. While boiling at this time, these water molecules starts to get hotter. As it gets hotter, it will cook the potato. They will get less and they will move out. Once they are done, and how do we understand that they are done? We poke a knife. If we can take it out without moving the potatoes too much, then it's ready. We put the knife here like this, get in and out.
Like a cake.
Like a cake, yes, you're right. Then, because it's not watery anymore, what happens is, in that amount, we create a bit of crunch. It also gets a bit of overcooking. On the sides, what happens in that 40-50 minutes or an hour, the sides starts to be like kind of, you know, when you boil potatoes too much, you have this wrinkliness outside. You get that, but you don't get that by putting some water to the potato, but by evaporating the water from inside out. Like this.
And as the outer shell is not stiff and crunchy, the water inside evaporates easily.
Yes. because you don't sear it with hot oil. Then we have these wrinkles. Now, when you increase the heat to 170 degrees, these wrinkles
Create more crunch.
Yeah, incredibly nice crunch. You know how it became really famous that first they bake the potatoes and crush it and then fry it again in the oven, so more surface area, more crunch. This also happens. So when this is done, you have like a quite thick skin of crunch and creamy inside.
I have to tell you, this is my favorite potato.
You said Refika cold, but this is not cold. This is 110 degrees. I have a colder version, and this is from Turkey. Now this is called tulumba. Tulumba is a dessert that is fried and then put some sherbet in. What is different is when you fry a dough, usually the outside of the dough is crunchy, but a soft crunch, not a very thick crunch, and inside is usually doughy and soft. In this tulumba, the crunch is quite thick. Like this.
If you compare churro and tulumba, the crunch of churro is nothing near to tulumba.
Tulumba is almost like you're cracking like a...
Like a hard chocolate.
Yeah, the outside is you have to really crack it to eat. So, how do we create that thickness and inside it's going to be soft? We're gonna make it slowly.
Really?
Yeah. The dough of tulumba is quite simple to petit choux, which is with the butter and water, and then you add the flour, you cook it on the stove top, and then when you cool it down on your counter, then add an egg. To that, we add two extra things. Starch, which again creates an extra crunchiness for the frying, and secondly, semolina. Semolina also increases that crunchiness, so everything is focused to make the outside crunchy. So how do we cook this? Because of the egg, because of the water you put in, there's a lot of water content. We have to take that water content out. Hundreds of years of doing this. How they do it? You put it to room temperature. The dough sits at the bottom of the pan. As the oil heats up, the water evaporates. The heat shouldn't be very high. This should happen slowly. As it gets evaporated from the bottom of the pan, first it goes in the middle, and then it starts to float. When it floats, it's ready, huh?
You never increase the temperature.
You heat it up, but you heat it up slowly. For example, to understand whether the oil is hot enough while frying something, what do? We put a bit of dough. If the dough sinks to the bottom, the oil is not hot enough. If the dough goes down, like closer to the bottom, and then starts to go up slowly, then it's the right heat. If it never goes down, it just starts to bubble at the top, that means it's too much heat. So the same thing, because of the water content, it becomes heavier. As it starts to get less, it can float on the oil, so it will start to float. And this way, we have a thick crunch, and that's again because of the power of the cold fry. You might think, Refika, if we cold fry things, it soaks a lot of oil. This is like something that we have learned since I was 10. This is not right, actually. What is right is normally something soaks oil the most at the end of frying, while you take it out of the pan. What happens is, let's say this is the surface. Before you cook it, as you said, there's a lot of water content.
What are those? Are those pores of the...
These are like small pores, and this is the water content. This water content starts to evaporate, but then it leaves small pores on the sides. Then, instead of water, oil gets in to these pores. Let's say you take it out very slowly. You don't do anything. You put it on the side. Those little pores on the surface of what you're frying are filled with oil. And when the oil gets cold, it gets thickened. And then you have this, crunchy looking, but, very oily soaked surface. And when you crack it, then you have a lot of oil in your mouth, which is unpleasant.
What do you have to do to get rid of the oil at that moment?
To get rid of that oil, it's pores like this. So it's really not easy to get out. When the oil is really hot, it becomes really runnier than water. But when it's cold, it's heavier. it moves harder. So when the oil is really still hot, you have to take it out of here by shaking and move it up and down. So the oil gets out of these holes, air gets in, it gets a bit cooler. So this way it doesn't soak that oil. When the oil is cold and when you take it out of the oil when it's cold, what happens? The oil cannot move a lot because it's denser. It might not give you the room to rinse those out. As we have seen in the example of potatoes and in the example of tulumba, we start with cold, but we end up in hot oil. So ending up in a hot place is very important, but how you start makes a lot of difference and it might create miracles. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed our session in front of the blackboard. Hope this was explanatory. If you have enjoyed it, please write a comment. I need it. I feel as if I wasn't able to explain it really well. Probably you won't be able to find anywhere else in the world. For the recipe of tulumba, we have the version that Burak has done here. And for my family recipe sikme with details, we have the recipe here. So both you can go and watch if you like for those recipes, but I hope you've understood something that you've never listened about frying. I have those kind of things that I have myself found out over the years. If you want us to continue giving information like this, if you enjoy that, please write it down as well. Lots of love.